Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to revisit my Ireland scrapbook, and we are again taking a look at some first glimpses of Blarney Castle. And this layout is a sort of different way of doing the layout that we did previous to this one in my Ireland scrapbook. So if it looks slightly familiar, that would be why. We did the flip portion in the center slightly different last time. This time I think it's simplified. You might not think it's simplified, but I think it's simplified. And I did that for a reason. There's a lot going into this layout, the 2 pages that are included here. And so I just didn't want to make my layout complicated because there's a lot that are a lot of pieces that are going to be going on to the layout. So let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. I really like the way this one comes together. All right, here is my workspace for today. And you might notice I have a startling lack of tools. This layout is going to be a little bit similar to the one we did this last time, except for the fact that I'm using different papers, and this one is just a simplified design, I guess I should say. I've got my permanent and repositionable adhesive out. We may not need the repositionable adhesive, but just in case, I've got both of them ready to go. I'm just going to scoot them out over there because we won't get to them for a little bit. I have 2 pieces of paper here, and these are actually the same piece of paper. You can see they're double-sided. I got this paper from Scrapbook.com, and I just love the whimsy of the shamrocks. I just think they're really, really cute and pretty. And since this is my Ireland book, I thought it was very appropriate. I love the green. It just sort of spoke to me. So this is what we're going to use today, and you'll see why the layout is simplified in just a second here. But I'm going to grab my trimmer, and I think that's really the only tool we may use. We'll use the guillotine trimmer as well to trim up some photos, but for right now we're just going to use the 12-inch trimmer. That's going to be our main focus. I'm going to move my pages out of the way here really quick, and we'll get those back in just a second. But for right now we're just going to use these 2 pieces of paper. I'm going to take my trimmer and we're going to make a frame. I'm going to stack these on top of each other so that my pages are exactly the same. I'm going to make this frame and we're going to do this frame. Let's do this frame at 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to put my paper at the 1.5 inch mark on the right hand side of my cutting line. I've got my paper all the way to the top shoulder of my trimmer. I've got I'm looking at the measuring here, and I'm all the way out to the very last portion of the grid on this side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my cut from the 1.5 line up here, and I'm going to end my cut at the 10.5 inch line down here. Now, since this is 2 inches wide, I'm going to, I just know that my blade is right in the center. So my cut's going to stop at a 1 inch mark from either end of this blade housing. Okay, so that means that in order to start my cut at 1.5 inches, this end of my blade housing is going to be at the 2.5 inch mark. So I'm going to line that up, and I'm going to start my cut and go down this far. I want to stop at the 10.5 line, or 10.5 inch mark. So that means my blade housing is going to stop at 11.5 inches. Okay, so if you're worried that you are not going to stop at the appropriate place, or you're not going to start at the appropriate place, use clips. Use little alligator clips like this. I've shown you that technique before, and that works so great, because then you make sure that you stop at exactly the same place every time. So you would take this clip and put it right here at 11.5 inches. So the top edge of the clip is at 11.5 inches. That means you're not going to go past that mark no matter how many times you try. That clip's going to stop you. Okay, so you can do the same thing at this end. You can put your clip at the 1/2 inch mark, where the bottom edge of your clip is at the 1/2 inch mark, and then your blade will always start at the 1.5 inch mark. Okay, the reason I am not doing that is because it's just faster if you know already what you're doing, to not worry about the clips. But if you really need that reinforcement, by all means do it. It will definitely help you to ensure that your cuts are all the same. Okay, so just lining my papers up again, making sure they're in the same spot. My top edge is right against that shoulder. I'm going to start again at the 2.5 inch mark, where, as far as where my housing is. I'm pressing down pretty hard and going all the way down and rotating counterclockwise. All right. With this, with the procedure we're doing today, and the way that we're doing this today, the key is to be as precise as you can. So that you can flip the center if you want to. Of course, we're not going to be doing that today, but originally that was kind of my idea, was to flip the center like we did last time. We flipped the piece that we cut out, and that works really well when you are super precise. If you're not super precise with your cutting, then it might not work as well. So the procedure that we're doing today might be more friendly for you, and make it a little more fun. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and, you see how my top one cut all the way through, so that's not a problem. But my bottom one, I was not quite forceful enough, so I have these little teeny bits that are still connecting my corners. So I'm just breaking those so that I can separate the two. Okay, so now instead of just flipping these over, which would be, it is a way of doing this, I'm going to take my center square, and just to create a little bit more interest in the page without a lot more effort, I'm going to take these center squares and I'm just going to cut them down by about, I'm just going to cut them down by 1/4 inch. So I'm going to move them out to the very edge of my cutting mat, which is approximately 1/4 inch. I'm going to remove that clip so I can come all the way down with my cut. All right, so we've got these two. I'm just going to save these just in case I might want to use them for another layout. So we're just going to go 1/4 inch here. Now I think I was not really considering the fact that I need it to be from both sides. Let's see how this will look. We've got that tiny little break, so there will be a little bit of a border around the edge. where we'll see the page. And I did that on purpose. Okay, so one page will look like this, one page will look like this. And this is a great way of utilizing or making your layout interesting when you only have 2 decorative papers to use. So if you only have two papers that match, but you want to use them both, or you want to do a 2-page layout, this is a great way to design your layout for that. Okay, so this first page is going to be this. Now this is, excuse me, this is one of the maps. You'll recall, let me see if I have one up here. I showed you last time all the plethora of folded maps that I had from our journey to Blarney Castle and Gardens. And what I did was I opened the map and I cut all the way around the enlargement of the map of the gardens. You can still see all the folds that are in it, and you can see the back has more information. But because I had multiples of these, I can cut one and use it as just the map, and I can cut another one and use the information on the back side, which is what I'm planning to do. So when you travel, it is sometimes helpful to have more than one copy of a map like this, or of different information. So I'm going to take my guillotine trimmer really quick, and I'm just going to cut, I'm going to just cut one of these sides right here, so that, and I'm not going to cut this side because, I'll tell you why in just a second. I want this to be level, so I'm going to make it level with the river that's going across, just visually. And I'm going to cut just a tiny bit off of this edge, and I'm cutting that off because I know already that my map is much wider than my page. So I'm doing this in preparation for the fact that it's going to overlap the edge, and I don't want it to go overlap the edge, but there's really nothing out there that I wouldn't hesitate to sacrifice, so it's just fine. Okay, so the rest of these pieces I have already cut, and I may want to mount them on some cardstock rather than just placing them on here, but we'll see what happens. I'm not going to put any, well, I may put one photo on this page, but I'm going to mount it on cardstock as well, so it will not be a problem. So the bigger issue for me right now is I want to determine which of these, the green around the outside with the shamrock in the middle, is that the one that I prefer with the map across it? Or do we want the opposite? Do we want the shamrocks on the outside and the green in the middle? Oh, I think I like that best, the shamrock on the outside and the green, the map in the middle, only because I feel like it detracts less. It's easier to see the details on the map with it this way. Okay, so that means that the page next to it will likely be the flip side of this, but let's go ahead and get this put on, and then we'll come back to getting the additional pieces added. Okay, so I'm still, just like I would normally do for a 12-inch, whoops, I just ran out of adhesive. 1 second. And we're back in business. All right. So, oh, that's very strange. I already did this side, but it didn't stick. Okay. Now, does this have a right side or a wrong side? I think I'm going to go with it like this. Right on. Sometimes this works better for me when I'm trying to get the paper centered. Put it right along the center edge of that jeeping, and then it's better, it's not hanging off or short on any of the longer sides. Okay. So there's that, and then we're going to with this, and I'm just going to allow for that roughly 1/8 of an inch to kind of frame this center square. Okay, there we go. And then this piece, we're going to go ahead and just add. And when I add adhesive to something like this, I try to make sure that all the little bumps have some adhesive, so they're not going to buckle and lift up in any way. So that should be good. Now we're going to need to trim this side, but I want to make sure that this side goes on right at the edge of the jeeping. And then we're just going to make it level and adhere it as we move across. See, this end right here is sticking out, so we're going to come back and trim that in just a second. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to, you could just use your scissors. I have an X-Acto knife that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use my ruler as a straight edge. I'm going to do that for a couple of reasons. Mostly it's because I don't trust myself. And I might get crazy with the X-Acto knife, and I don't want to do that. So I've got 2 little spots that are sticking over. So I just want to go right along the edge of my ruler and as lightly as I can, but still with enough pressure to separate those pieces. I want to go ahead and cut those off. Now you don't want to put too much pressure. If you put too much pressure, you'll cut right through your page, and that's not what we're going for here. We just want to trim off the extra so that it's not hanging over. Okay, so there's that. All right. So now we need to decide if we're going to mount these on cardstock, and I really do think I want to mount them on cardstock. So that's going to take an extra minute here. Let me grab some dark green. Alright, so here's my dark green cardstock. I think that's going to do the best for this. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere these little bits of this map to my cardstock. Now I'm not going to give it a huge border. I just want enough of a border that it provides an accent and a highlight for the information. And I actually want to put a little bit of adhesive over that fold so it will hopefully stay flat. A lot nicer. So like that. Okay, then I'm going to, just for the sake of continuity, I'm going to do the same thing with these little pieces because I want it all to kind of work together, right? So I'm going to put some adhesive, because that fold is kind of bothersome, right along the edge. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like 1/8 of an inch right here where it was naturally folded on the in the original map that I unfolded, and I just want that to be as straight as I can. And you can see my cutting where I created this is a little bit off, not the greatest. Let me see if I can separate this kind of card here. Then I can add it to the information. Let's see. Sometimes it's a little trickier than one might think. Depends on how much adhesive they used when they glued it on here. All right. Oh, here we go. So now I can go ahead and add this to my page. Got a little too much adhesive, so we'll just stick that in the middle there. So I'm going to put this over here. Like that. And then we'll frame this too. Might as well, right? All right. All right, so let's grab my trimmer again and see how much of this I can separate with my trimmer. I'm gonna need to use my scissors for some of it. That's kind of obvious, but let's see if I can get some of these cut with my trimmer. The edges, the lines will be straighter, and I think it will be more pleasing if I can do that. So let's see. I'm going to use my arrow here so that I can see where the cut line's going to be, and make sure that it's going to be providing at least a little bit of a margin there, right? Okay, now we're going to, these are going to be a little bit more tricky. Okay, so this one, let's go ahead and cut that. And we'll cut the very edge of this one. You can see my sort of hatchet job with my scissors, because I was truly not very straight. You know, we think we cut decent with our scissors, and then we try something like this, and it really shows where we're lacking. At least that's, for me, it shows where I'm lacking. I guess I should not group everyone into that. Maybe you guys are better at it than I am. this one I think is going to require by hand for most of it, so I'm just not going to stress about it. All right, so there's that one, and here's this one, and we just need to cut this one. And I could try to manage it with this. Ooh, that was really close. Closer than I wanted anyway. This comes down to how talented are you at using your trimmer, right? How well do you know your trimmer? To be able to see both sides to know where the cut needs to start and stop. A little bit more. Okay. Well, should be just about. All right. There we go. That works for me. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the rest of this assembled. And I'm going to put this one down here because it's going to cover up the least amount of the map. This one, I think I want to put up here. Might need to come down just a skosh. Blarney, we'll put this one overlapping it, so we're not going to cut all of that out, but we'll leave it like that. So overlapping just a little bit, and then this one, actually we probably could tuck right in there. It won't be covering anything important right there. This one can go kind of be offset like that. All right. Probably isn't super necessary to have this extra little piece right here, but I just sort of feel like it's kind of cool to have all the contact information in case we want it, or in case anybody watching is looking for it. Of course, now with the internet you can just look it up, but you never know. If we want to go back, we might want an easy way of finding the information. All right, so we're going to place this one down here in the corner. Like so. This one's going to go just underneath this one will go right on top. All right, so now we've got our map of the area. That's going to make it super fun to be able to kind of follow along as we do our photos as well. Okay, now we're going to take just a second and we're going to cut this into a circle. This is a fun photo op that they actually had provided, and it's meant for people to really just look through and see the castle. It's kind of a first view of the castle from the walk that we were on, but we thought it would be fun. Someone in our group thought it would be fun to go ahead and just take a picture through the hole. I don't think it was me. I can't remember who it was that took this picture, but I thought the picture itself turned out just super cool. So I'm going to cut this and still leave the stone around the outside because I want to be able to see that and know that it was sort of a little bit of a peephole. And so I'm just using my custom cutting system with the largest circle with the red blade because that's what fits my photo the best. And then we've got that fun picture that we can add up here. But I think because I have this and I don't know what kind of acid is in that, I'm going to mount the photo on some cardstock as well. Now, how do I determine, since I used the red blade on the inside of this circle, how do I determine which circle is going to frame that best? The way I do it is I have these cool templates that I cut that show me different sized circles. I've cut every circle I possibly can make using the 3 templates from this custom cutting system of circles, and then I can take my photos and place them on here and determine which one is going to be the best. Now, each of your templates, when you buy these, they come with a plastic sheet that shows you the different size circles that you can make, and that's meant and made so you can overlay that on your photo and determine what circle to use and which outline, size-wise, is going to work for you. So right now, this looks like the red blade on the outside of the small circle is going to be the best size for what I need to mat this photo. But I just go ahead and cut. I've done the same thing with my ovals, and it comes in very handy for me. Somewhere in the course of all of our military moves, I lost my clear template, and so I don't have that to use. But if you have yours to use, then that might be the best thing for you. Or you can make templates like I did. Just find some extra cardstock or some cardstock that you have quite a bit of, and go ahead and use that. All right, I'm just making sure I don't have anything underneath my cardstock. That would be awful to cut a circle and then find that you cut something else underneath. So the red blade on the outside of the smallest circle just gonna pop that back into my blade box and put that back. Then we can mount this. Now, why am I mounting it? Why am I concerned about what it's going down on? I'm not concerned about the paper that's underneath it because the paper is acid and lignin free, so I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is the map, because I didn't, you know, a lot of times when you pick up things like this at a place you're visiting, there is no way to guarantee that that paper doesn't have harmful acid in it that's going to affect whatever it's touching on your page. Now, the likelihood of it bothering the paper behind it is fairly slim, because the paper behind it is acid free. It's not going to change this. I don't expect that this will change the paper either, but I just don't want it to affect the photo and to change any of the pigments in the photo. All right, so I'm just going to add this in here just for a fun, cute little photo opportunity on the page. And you could maybe even say that's an embellishment. I don't know. But we're not going to need a lot of embellishment on this page, as you can see, because there's a lot of extra stuff already. So I'll have to think about that and try to figure that out. All right, so these are the photos that are going to go next to it. These papers are going to go on this page, but I do need to trim a couple of these photos up, because the three that I want to go next to each other need to be smaller so that there is a border around each one, and this one needs to be more of a 4x4 size. So we're going to come in here with the guillotine trimmer and come up here. We're just going to make this one 4x4. So it can go right in there. We're going to take each one of these and we're going to trim them down. And actually the signpost is probably going to get trimmed down the most, because it's the thinnest of them. But I want it to probably be 3 inches wide, so I'm just going to trim it with the idea that it's going to be 3 inches. And that works. So awesome. There it is. Okay, this bridge now doesn't necessarily have to be, the other two pictures don't necessarily have to be trimmed, because look, we've got quite a bit of space around each one of these now. So that should be grand the way that is. All right, and do we need to matte any of these? That's the next question. We might want to matte just a couple of the ones that are the most impactful, like this one of the whole castle is lovely, and maybe that's all we need, is just to matte one. Let me go ahead and get the papers put on, and then we'll be able to guess that better. So actually what we could do is go ahead and just move the photos over here and then see, because I also want to determine, do I want the same background that we have on this page on this page? Do we want it to look the same, or do we want it to look different? All right, so there's the photos with, and of course this will have a little bit extra space because it's going to have a mat around it, so it'll be something like that. I think I'd be okay with just leaving that the same, but let's look at it the other way, just so that we can say that we explored all of our options. Last time I liked it the way I had flipped it over instead, so let's try it with this castle in the middle this time. I don't know. What would you do? I think I like this way best, and which is odd for me because normally I like the backgrounds to be the same. The base part of the layout, but I think I'm going to go with this time. Yeah, let's go with this time. All right, so I'm going to slip this underneath so that I can get to the papers. Blarney and its gardens are a great example of how green Ireland is. There's just so many different varieties of green. So many more, I feel like, than what we see here in the States. And it's just, you would think that you would get tired of seeing so much green, but we never did. I don't really remember even any of my kids saying, it's too green, we're tired of seeing green. I don't remember them ever saying that. Green is the color of life, and so it's just lovely. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mount some of these photos, and then we'll get to matting. Let's do the one that's right in the middle first. That would be this one. I love the green grass in the center. And actually this is not going to be right in the center, so I'm just sort of going to set it on there, and I'm going to place these just to make sure our spacing is good. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. So okay. Aha. The snack monster cometh.
I'm not here.
You are here, but you are.
I'm here.
But you are. It looks straight, and then it's clearly not straight, so I'm fixing it. Alright, there's those. Now we've got the 4x4. And I know that I heard people comment before, why are you putting so many, hold on, I need another piece of cardstock. Why are you putting so many pictures of the same thing in your album? Well, if you have not been following this series all the way along from the beginning, let me just reiterate that we had 9 people on this trip. And that meant we had 9 people taking pictures. And so when it came to trying to determine who got the best angle, which photo was the best, wow, that's a lot of photos to sort through. And you know, I'm not a professional photographer, but I do know that, you know, sometimes it's just lovely to have a different angle, have a different viewpoint. And so you actually wouldn't believe the number of photos that are not in this album. But I have tried hard to represent as many of the different viewpoints from our group as possible in this album. So that's why there are so many photos, and some of you might find them repetitious, and I apologize for that, but we had such a good time, and really the photos are not the whole reason why I'm sharing this with you, right? A lot of the reason I'm sharing this with you is so that you can learn a new layout, and you can use the examples of layouts that I'm giving you for your own photos. So, however many photos I choose to use shouldn't really affect how you choose to put your photos in. All right. So all of our photos are now attached, and we can sort of sit back and look at this and determine if there's embellishments needed on these pages. If there are going to be embellishments, there probably won't be very many, because we've got a lot going on here. So let's see. Cutest clover in the bunch. I'm feeling lucky today. How's that? We should use that one. I'm feeling lucky. Reminds me of that movie quote that we throw around a lot here in my house, and that's, "Are you feeling lucky, punk?" From an old movie, well, older movie, from when my kids were little. "You're feeling lucky, punk?" Just fun. I'm worried these are not going to show up very much if we use these, because they blend right in to the background. I actually think that maybe we'll only do one little cluster, I think, is all we're going to do on this. Okay, so I'm just kind of making a little cluster with some leaves and a clover and a little saying that was part of the Totally Tonals pack of embellishments that I had. Alright, so we're just going to put this right up here. I'm feeling lucky today. And we'll have it kind of overlap the photos just a little bit, because all of that's acid free and the adhesive is photo safe, so all is well there. All right, and I think that's all I'm going to do, because I don't really feel like I need a whole lot more. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to do. Let me know what you think about this layout and how easy it is to just cut a square, flip the center over, maybe cut the center just a little smaller so it provides a little more interest. Although you can't see it very much on this page as you can on this page. Let me know what you think. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Enjoy your day.